Like I said, I'm doing so many things at the same.
We are now live.
We're now live. Thank you and welcome back. So we will go to 6.4. Let's discuss calendars.
So if I could ask a trustee to make a motion, then I'd gladly speak to the calendars that are shared.
Okay, go ahead.
Excuse me, I move that the board approve the draft 2023 to 2024 school year calendars as presented.
Thank you. All right. Did we look at those calendars? You see any conflicts? That's been missing a day.
But I can speak to them if you
Yes,
wish.
please go ahead.
So you can see before you there's the 4 community calendars for our 4 sister boards to have some common days such as Institute Day, Learning Day, Faith Reflection Day, with a common amount of operational days at 197 and student days at 177, which is our traditional numbers that I'm open to any questions that you may have.
Just for my knowledge again, I know we still have a lot of divisions with these days.
Above and below, we have some that have a few more. Which makes it interesting when trying to grade a common number with including start dates from different divisions have a start date that's after the long weekend, and some divisions have a start date that's before. So for finding a happy medium. Challenging, but our sister boards have been very good to collaborate.
Any question? Then a follow-up question again from me. Do we have any dates that our sister boards are going to help us in passing?
We work with Wolf Creek, and so there be Wolf Creek will have a few days with Wolf Creek that we will be requiring some support, which they have graciously done so for the past few years.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, there are no further questions. And I will call the question. All in favor of approving the calendars? Okay, this is not carried. Okay. Mr. Bouchard, 6.5. And I would like someone. Trustee Beth, do you want to put that motion on the floor for us, please?
That the board approve the Star Catholic Key Board priorities and goals for 2023 to 2027.
Thank you. Mr. Bouchard, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So you have before you kind of a pretty version, I guess, of what the trustees agreed to or process and board priorities that were set on March 21st. I'm happy to say that the 7-month consultation process was very instrumental in reaching these priorities. So I think Manager of Communications, Caitlin Kehoe, to put this in a format that's recognizable, but is different than the last priority sheet. So it's a culmination, I think, of a lot of work over the course of the year, and will serve the division well over the next 4 years. So unless there's any questions, I would ask for support of those priorities as presented.
Okay. Go ahead.
I found the engagement process through this, the community consultation day and the surveys that went out to parents, along with conversations that have been had with constituents, very valuable in this process. So I just wanted to show some appreciation of that process. And it helped be able to make the decision and the changes that we see here.
Any further comments? All right. Yes, I'm excited about this for the next 4 years, which is a very good thing to do. I have a longer period and meet some of these new progress before you do any more change. Right, so I would like to call the question now, all in favor of the new goals and priorities? Okay, it's carried. We'll go to 6.6. We got motion, okay, go ahead.
6.6. The board appoint MNP LLP as external auditors for the division for the next 4 years, as outlined in the request for proposal and their submitted response.
Thank you. All in favor, any discussions? Sorry. You have your background there. Any question or comments? Just a comment on my end, for judicial responsibility, and again, having someone else come look at your books after some long period of time as well, it's a good practice. So this will be our first year with group. So I'm excited to see how best we can work collaboratively with them.
I will make one comment that the audit committee worked very diligently and responsibly to go over all the proposals and the recommendation.
Thank you. So I'd like to call the question now. All in favor? Okay, carried. All right, now we'll talk some money again. Okay, Trustee Marco, you want to put down? Trustee Miller, do you want to put this on motion on the floor for us?
Thank you. I move that the board approve the transfer of $409,000 into capital reserve for construction of a link and placement of modulars at Father Leduc School as per the 2022-23 request for modulars and improvements to Christ the King School for the relocation of the Star Outreach.
Okay, so now I'm opening it up for discussion and questions. That is the background. Okay. All right. Any questions for this? Go ahead.
Regarding the outreach relocation, I've heard some questions regarding, I guess, the safety of moving this outreach to CTK. Can you go over, I guess, what will be done to ensure that those CTK, the school, and the outreach location will be kept separate?
I guess I want to be careful that we don't start with the premise that it's unsafe to have outreach students close to Christ the King. I think that would be a false premise. However, we do want to maintain two distinct and separate schools. So the intention is to have separate washroom facilities as part of the relocation, as well as a partitioned door between Christ the King and the outreach. So it's not that students can't get into Christ the King School, and that's why I started off with that premise. But there is an attempt there to make a delineation between the two facilities and to, you know, kind of have the exits and entrance to the outreach to be separate so that they are their own standalone building, kind of attached to Christ the King.
And when is our lease ending here, and what's the anticipated time of these?
Yeah, the lease officially ended March 31st.
Hopefully.
We got, we in place before then, we've been talking with the landlord as a potential as we were going into renewal. At the point then, once we had finalized the desire to move into administration, I did approach the landlord for an extension until the end of July. So the outreach, we continue operations until the end of June, and then in July, their furniture and equipment will be emptied out of that space and we go to CTK. Now, timelines for the modifications over at CTK. So this is endeavoring to get partition between the outreach area and the rest of the school up as soon as possible. The washroom facilities might take a little bit longer, but they'll, the outreach people are aware of that and will make accommodations for that. That transition, but the intent is for the beginning of September, the outreach will be operating in the CTK.
You should be ready by end of September.
The washrooms may take a bit. I'm not going to pull facilities to a timeline at this point until they've actually.
Mr. Chair, just related to the first part of the motion, if I could just for the clarity with the public. Is that there, we have not received an out or the modulars from Alberta Education, so there's been no announcement of modulars. So this is a capital fund to be put in place so that when we do receive the announcement, there is capital set aside for that. So there has been no announcement of modulars. I just want to be clear about that.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. We are now called a question. All in favor? Relocating, take carry. Thank you. Now open up into committee reports.
Mr. Chair, if there wasn't an addition to the
Yeah,
agenda.
sorry. Yeah, 6.8 transportation fee. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that the Board of Trustees approve the fee rate as presented for the 2023-2024 school year.
The background.
Yes, thank you. So from our last meeting in March, the board did approve a slate of fees that we usually go through every year, and transportation was tabled until this meeting because of the government announcement and changes to transportation. We weren't really sure what that looked like or what that meant for our parents and families and schools. So we have had a chance to review that information, along with looking at the information from the survey that we did out to parents regarding transportation fees. The committee did recommend, reviewed all of the information and is recommending that the fee remain the same at $500 per year for ineligible funded students, if that's the right term, and up to a maximum of $1,000 per family for the 2023-2024 school year.
You. Yeah, go ahead.
And don't we release surveys on this, the general consensus.
Generally speaking, there was, I think out of 400 people that, 600 people looked at the survey the finance committee had. Of that 400 people responded to this particular question. On average, they came in with about $700 as a fee rate. So there certainly was more increasing the fee if necessary. I'm not if Trustee Miller wants to add to that and correct my numbers from memory.
No, I think that's good information. The survey did indicate families were willing to move to an increase in individual transportation fees, along with agreeing to an increase per family up to about $1,300. The committee did review all of that information, and with what the government has announced where we are financially, the committee did recommend or is recommending to leave the fee at $500 and $1,000 respectively, even though the survey does indicate that families would be willing to go up their fees.
So I guess the question was kind of posed or caveated that it would be taking funds out of instructional cost. We have to take funds out of instruction, put it to transportation. And that would be why we have the mentality of increasing transportation and parents would be supportive of it. Is this saying that this coming year with these fees, we won't have to do that?
Administration felt that not sure where we're going to land up with our revenues for next year because we are now, instead of block funded, based on our historical transfer of students from 3 years ago, we're going to be submitting new. There are new guidelines in terms of who is eligible for funding coming into next year as well. So I don't, at this point, we haven't projected what our actual revenues would be for next year. If they're substantially higher compared to our costs, we're not going to transfer as much from instruction to support that. So that's where I think that's where administration's recommendation, finance committee, is to hold steady at this point rather than, rather than us recommending an increase based on our costs. In the survey, it indicated an average cost of, I think, $733. And so rather than trying to recover that amount, leave it as is and see what our new revenue levels are and how much we're, if we are transferring from instruction, how much does that look? So it's kind of a hold steady until we've got further information in terms of the financial impact on.
All right. Other question? If we will. Move on.
Here you have a question on the
Oh,
floor.
yeah. The question, please, all in favor of the motion? Okay. Thank you, is carried. And we will then move to 7 committee reports. We have a lot of reports attached. One is for audits, audit chair, Trustee Talbot, any highlights?
Pretty well.
Okay. And I see finance committee, we already covered that, we have money. Okay. Fatimila, any highlights on that? Yeah. Okay. We have money to pay bills, we're good to go. ASBA. Fatimila, any highlights? Okay. All right, so we'll now move into our in-camera items. Okay, we want to move us into in-camera and get Trustee. Okay, and we'll have communication and secretary. That's it. So, okay. All in favor? All right. Carry.
Mr. Chairman, let me stop.
Yes, of course, sorry. Yes.